Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcia Gordon. I'm President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester, and it's my privilege to welcome you all to the final of our series in the state of Westchester's economy, post-pandemic and future-focused. And this has been a post-pandemic and future-focused series because we are emerging and we are starting, and perhaps no area of the region's economy has undergone such dramatic changes due to the pandemic than hospitality and the retail sector, which, as we all know, was battered by the pandemic. Westchester's hotels, restaurants, retail, and entertainment have been challenged like never before to adapt to the new environment. So we are proud this morning to present a panel of well-known experts who will share their insights and ideas with us and talk about being future-focused for this most important sector of the economy. We're very proud to have had this series presented by PCSB Bank, a bank that is truly local and truly banking and is a wonderful, wonderful community bank. Mike Goldrick, who is joining us today, is an Executive Vice President and Chief Lending Officer at PCSB Bank. He joined the bank in October 2012 and has been in the banking industry for more than 33 years, a very illustrious career, primarily in Westchester County and neighboring communities, including New York City and Long Island. He and his family are longtime residents of Katona. Mike, welcome and thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Marcia, for the kind words. And thank you, Dr. Marcia Gordon. I'm honored to be here with you this morning, and PCSB Bank is proud to be the sponsor of this worthwhile event. I want to thank Marcia, John, and the rest of the Business Council staff, plus our expert panelists, for collaborating on the fourth and final event in this series, addressing the state of Westchester's economy. Today's focus will be on hospitality and retail. Incredibly, the COVID pandemic arrived in our area over a year ago. While most businesses have pivoted to some degree to survive the pandemic environment, the hospitality and retail sectors have faced some of the biggest and toughest challenges, with lockdowns and guidelines that completely changed how they operate and function. Some of these changes may be permanent. As always, we have the Business Council initiating dialogue on key issues impacting local businesses. As an aside, for those who are watching but are not yet Business Council members, please consider joining. It will be one of the best investments you can make in 2021. PCSB Bank is a longtime member, and the BCW has been an invaluable resource for us throughout the years. Additionally, PCSB Bank will continue to support the hospitality and retail segments by providing banking guidance and solutions to keep business owners well informed so they can make better decisions. It's never been more important to have the right partners in place to support your business while working towards recovery. The PCSB Bank team takes pride in serving our local community and looks forward to future growth and success for all. I want to again thank Marcia and John and the whole Business Council team for allowing PCSB Bank to sponsor this worthwhile event. And thanks to the incredible group of panelists, we're all anxious to hear from you. In closing, if you're not a member of the Business Council, there's no better time to join now. So visit the website, thebcw.org, and sign up and join now. Thank you. And now back to Dr. Marcia Gordon.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for those very kind words. I'll just put a little plug in. If you're interested in joining, we're having two events this month, our Circles of Influence on May 13th and May 20th. So please contact Linda Tyler. And, you know, I think that during this pandemic, one of the things that we've all learned, and especially the business community and the small business community, we've learned the importance of having a great relationship with your bank. whether it's PPP loans or business advice, having their relationship with the bank, and particularly a community bank, was so, so important. PCSB, you were magnificent, and I know you helped your clients and the community at large through this pandemic. So thank you. We have two other wonderful sponsors today, and I want to introduce them. First of all, King's Capital Construction. They are a construction company that has a legacy of superior construction services and a commitment to excellence, which makes them a distinctive type of construction company. They have building expertise, which is critical to their success. Their true point of difference is an uncompromising commitment to integrity. They know relationships really make their business work, and the work that they do depends on their ability to successfully facilitate and manage work through their team and their various partners. And I know I want to give a shout out to Victoria Bruno, who is on today, who really leads so much, and so many BCW members know. It is critical that we create value for everyone along the way, because the relationships that they build in the process of doing business are really sacred to them as a construction company. King's promotes a culture and environment whose goal is to be injury-free. They strive to provide the safest possible workplace for their employees, subcontractors, clients, and others who visit their project sites. If you want more information on King's Capital, visit them at kingscapitalgroup.com. Be sure to follow, as I do, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I love following King's Capital because I really enjoy seeing everything that they do and the great work that they do, and so much building that they do, that you ride by and you will say now, oh my goodness, King's Capital built that. So thank you so much. We welcome you and thank you for your sponsorship. Also pleased to introduce Robert Martin Company. They are a leading Westchester-based real estate management and development firm. Robert Martin Company, RMC, has a 60+ year proven track record of successfully acquiring, developing, and managing investment properties, especially throughout Westchester and Fairfield County. RMC and its affiliates have developed and acquired over 20 million square feet of real estate across virtually every asset class. And today the company and its partners holds a portfolio that includes millions of square feet of office, retail, industrial, and residential properties, as well as developable land. I said that word. So for more information, go to robertmartincompany.com to learn more about RMC. And again, as you drive through Westchester, you will pass many, many business parks, office buildings, and more that you will look at and you will say, oh my goodness, that's RMC. And they are doing such wonderful, wonderful work in the community. RMC, our good friends, Tim Jones, Greg Berger, Larry Gottlieb, thank you for everything you do for Westchester. Okay, and now I want to introduce our esteemed panel. Sean Mead, the General Manager of Cambria Hotels and Suites. Liz Pollock, the Senior Manager of Marketing Marks Realty. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Great. Glenn Vogt, the owner and managing partner of River Market Bar and Kitchen. Eddie Monroy, the president of the Westchester Hispanic Chamber. And Taryn Duffy, Vice President, Corporate Communications and Public Affairs, Empire City Casino by MGM Resorts. As you see, we have pulled together a very, very diverse in every way panel of speakers who can address different sectors of this retail and hospitality economy. So Sean, I'm going to start with the hotel sector. So Sean, you represent the Westchester Hotel Association, We know that meetings and events are the lifeblood of the hotel industry. Do you see corporate travel and business meetings returning? And if so, when and in what form? And by the way, if anyone has any questions, we will get to the questions at the end. So feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A. Sean, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you, Marcia, and thank you for having me today. The hospitality sector, hotels in particular, were hit incredibly hard, as we all know. The good news on our end, from March and April of last year, the hotel ran respectively 8% and 9% occupancy, up to almost 70% this year. That's the Cambria Hotel, downtown White Plains. So we are seeing a recovery. It has been slow and inconsistent at times. The majority of our occupancy has been from the leisure sector. There's been a pent-up demand from people being home that are looking to travel and get out, not necessarily flying, but driving to destinations like Westchester County and enjoying everything that we have here to offer. As Marcia mentioned, the business and meeting sector is the part of the industry that we are really looking forward to come back to. Companies like MasterCard, Pepsi, Heineken, IBM, that was the majority, about 60% of our business pre-pandemic. And as we do start seeing smaller companies starting to travel again, we're really hoping as we move through 2021 that these larger companies start coming back to Westchester County again. It also helps the restaurant sector quite much. It's a very big compression effect where we all benefit from these large Fortune 500 companies coming to our area. As far as the timeline goes, we are seeing increased business travel in 2021 on much smaller levels. We are getting RFPs, requests for pricing for 2022, which is very promising. So the experts say New York City is going to recover fully by 24, 25. They have lowered that timeline to 2023. In Westchester County, we're thinking that we'll probably be about a year ahead of that. So we'll see some really good signs of recovery in 2022. Thank you.
Love those dates. That's especially encouraging. So Sean, as we look across the Westchester landscape, we see many hotels that no longer exist here in Westchester, including the Rytown Hilton, the Castle at Tarrytown, Arrowwood, and we know the Ritz-Carlton has recently changed its flag, so we're happy about that. Do you think that more hotel properties will reemerge in Westchester after the pandemic, and what will they look like?
Certainly, thank you. We actually did open a couple of hotels. The Spring Hill Suites in Tuckahoe opened during the pandemic. As you mentioned, the Ritz-Carlton took an opportunity during the pandemic to convert to an Autograph Collection by Marriott called the Opus Hotel. And the Crown Plaza in downtown White Plains also converted to a Sonesta Hotel. So there is opportunity. We did lose a few hotels, and as much as we all like to compete with each other, losing hotels in our market is something that is bad for hospitality in general. Hilton Westchester was a landmark. How many people do you know that have gotten married at that hotel? So it was sad to see it close its doors. But we are seeing hotels popping up. There are projects like in New Rochelle. They're looking to build and open 2 hotels within the next 12 months. So there is opportunity, and we are seeing more hotels starting to be developed in our area.
Great, that's encouraging. We also know that there are a lot of qualified and creative people out there who want to work and they aren't connecting. How does the Hotel Association and other related industry partners help each other to fill these roles across the county? And Sean, you had a very good experience the other day, so maybe you want to share that.
Yep. So through the Business Council of Westchester, I had an opportunity to be on News 12 to talk about some of the hiring challenges that we're having in Westchester County in the hospitality sector. And wouldn't you know it, the next day after it aired, 2 people came into the Cambria Hotel and said that they saw the story on News 12. We hired 1 person on the spot, and the other person's coming back for a second interview this week. We really need to look at the hiring practices that we've had in the past and adjust them to the times that we're in right now. In the past, we would have walk-in applicants almost every day coming to the hotel and fill out applications. We're not seeing that as much anymore. So what's important now is that we, change some of the approaches that we have to hiring and staffing. Hotels in the past have not had very flexible schedules. we're finding that the more we can be flexible and meet the needs of our associates, the more availability, the more people that we're hiring. It's also important to compress the timeline that we're hiring individuals. They're not just applying to the Cambria Hotel. They're applying to 10, 15, even 20 places to work, not just hospitality. So you find that perfect candidate and you sit a day or two to reach out to them, or you get them in for an interview and wait a couple of days to make an offer. They've already had an offer at another business. So compressing that timeline is something that's been very successful. And then also we're planning to do a job fair. The Hotel Association,
Great.
across all 40 hotels in Westchester County, will be doing a job fair in June or July of this year, which is a great opportunity. Again, when we all succeed, when one hotel or two hotels does well, it's a lot better when we're all succeeding together. So we look at this as a partnership along with the Business Council of Westchester, all of the restaurants here. What's good for one hotel is good for the entire area. So we're looking forward to the recovery, and things are moving positively for us.
Well, talking about looking post-pandemic and being future focused from a positive point of view, Sean, you really launched this in a very, very good way. Job fair is very encouraging. Please count on all of us at the Business Council, and I'm sure on this panel, to help you with that, to be part of that, to be partners. And thank you for your leadership of a very, very important sector of our economy. So, and Cambria Suites is beautiful. If anyone hasn't been, it's right on Main Street in White Plains, and it's fabulous. Taryn, talk about fabulous. Empire City Casino at MGM Resorts. What has been the greatest challenge of the past several months in the gaming world and entertainment in general?
Good morning. Hi, thanks for having me. Thank you for doing this. I think that these panels that you're doing are so critical, because it's really important that we all know what's happening across the different industries, because I think what we've learned, one of the many things we've learned during this time in the pandemic, is that we really are, as businesses, very much interdependent. And so, we need to support each other, and only if we're all healthy and growing does everybody continue to be healthy and growing. So thanks for doing this. Challenges, I think for Empire City Casino, the biggest challenge for us during the pandemic was the fact that we were closed for 6 months, which was the longest across the country that any casinos were closed. That was obviously incredibly impactful. I think thankfully we did not experience the workforce issues despite that really long-term closure in terms of getting our workforce back. Because thankfully we have some of the highest salaries and wages in the industry across the country. So our workforce was really thrilled to come back. I think in terms of reopening, because we're operating under very strict and limited capacity requirements, and also a very strict curfew initially, which was challenging. So I think the challenge for us, frankly, despite all of our successes, have been really customer expectations. People expect to have the same experience when they walk in the door. And although the experience is fun and we're able to give people a regional entertainment opportunity, they're used to experiencing a certain thing. They're used to comedy shows and live bands and, cocktails while they play. And so if they're playing craps or poker, they want a cocktail while they do that, or being able to grab a bite to eat, or whatever that might be. And bringing in maybe a sandwich or snacks in their own bag when they come in. So all of that has changed. Obviously, we have very, very strict health and safety protocols, but trying to ensure that everybody has a really great time, but stays very safe, is obviously paramount. And I think the fact that we have to, we're regulated, very heavily regulated, not only by casino protocols, but restaurant protocols and sporting venue protocols. And so it is a lot to make it all come together, but the PPE costs and the sheer volume of what we go through, 225,000 disinfecting wipes every week. It's all worth it, because we know that our guests are coming. We know they're having a great time, and it is a little bit different. But we're really excited that we can continue to provide that entertainment opportunity.
Well, 225,000 wipes a week.
Yes.
That says a lot, but it also says what a responsible venue you are and how comfortable people can be going into Empire City Casino and enjoying themselves and having fun. So assuming the mandates will improve for entertainment venues, do you see a pent-up demand for entertainment, ultimately creating an entertainment boom for Westchester, the region? What will that look like if it happens?
Well, as Sean mentioned, frankly, I think he's right. People are going to stay, more people are going to stay regional. I think there's plenty of people that are excited to fly and travel, but I do think that we know for a fact that people are looking to really have more local experiences. We are very pleased to welcome typically over 9 million guests every year. And so we're very happy to be able to provide that. For us, I think the future looks very, very bright, and it's what we're focused on. We are working very hard to be able to get a full gaming license that would allow us to not only offer live dealer tables and change the product on our floor, but just provide so many more amenities there to make it really a full experience, a full entertainment experience. And that, frankly, in terms of workforce and really supporting the county as we recover, I think will be critical. A full gaming license for us has over $1 billion impact, economic impact for the region, which will help every vendor, every service supplier, and every business. And it will give us, frankly, Marcia, the opportunity to take our $88 million annual payroll and more than double that with the direct hires of 2,500 people. But we also know that impact will have really, just in terms of the induced hiring and the indirect hiring, be another more than 10,000 jobs for the region. So
wow.
That's what we're really excited about. And by the way, I have to thank BCW for co-chairing the alliance that was created in partnership with labor and some of the entities in the Bronx. There are over 50 organizations that have been part of that alliance. I thank everybody on this webinar who has signed up so far. And we look forward to that support continuing to grow, because that really is critical. We know we're not going to get that full-scale license just because we ask for it. We're only going to get it really if the other businesses, the other community members, and all those organizations support it and ask for it. So really critical. And thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Taryn, for your leadership. I know Eddie Monroy's organization, the Westchester Hispanic Chamber, is part of that alliance.
Thank
And
you,
if
Ed.
anyone wants further information, I can give you our website, or perhaps Yvette or John could post the alliance website in the chat room. So ours is thebcw.org. So thank you. You answered everything I was going to say. I was going to ask how many employees, what's the impact, how many dollars. You've done it all. You've done a great job, Taryn Duffy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So Liz Pollock, very close to Empire City Casino, an amazing cross county is amazing. Actually, one of the first suburban shopping centers in the USA.
Yeah.
Quite historical. You've seen an evolution of shopping centers throughout the years. This pandemic was another instance where you needed to adapt, especially. What were some of the ways that cross-county shopping center pivoted during COVID?
Thank you. Well, good morning, and thank you for having me as well. And yes, we're neighbors with Empire City Casino, and they're a great neighbor, and we're excited about everything happening there. So when I had originally looked at the questions for today's panel about the pivoting, I kind of made a list, and I realized that we've had maybe 5 significant pivots, so to speak. I don't know if everybody's sick of that word yet or not, but the first pivot I would say is prior to the pandemic, retail was really focused on the experiential element. Landlords were heavily pursuing, the experience. Across county, we did it by opening Blink Fitness, which is part of the Equinox family. We opened Hyatt Place Hotel in 2015. Most recently, in 2019, we partnered with our Showcase Cinemas to do a multi-million-dollar renovation and redevelopment, upgrading that theater to, what you need theaters to be prior to the pandemic. At the Westchester Mall, you saw it with their renovation of their food court. They developed Savor, which is, a high-end upscale experience. At Ridge Hill, They open Legoland, they have a beautiful theater there as well, and they have residential. So we were all kind of in this hot pursuit of experience. And while that's maybe just taken a back seat right now, because the next pivot was, how do you bring people together when you have to stay apart? And I think that's the challenge that we all faced in our businesses is, it's been our job. It's, get the crowds, get the people, get the traffic. And that was really no longer an option in mass amounts. And that affects every aspect of our business. So the things that we did, the next pivot was really kind of change our format to embrace our retailers doing things like curbside pickup. And then that kind of changed to in-store pickup. So we really had to kind of work with them to see what their needs were and how they were going to handle the customer relations and how we can make it the most convenient for both our retailers and our customers. So never before have we had dedicated parking just to run in and get something and then go. But now that's a thing that's going to stay for a while, I think. All the retailers, are now dealing with things like delivery and all these different apps and platforms that you can use, kind of make that convenient where so you can kind of come out what you need and then you go back home to safety. Hopefully that, will start to change more where everybody feels more comfortable being out for longer periods of time. Then, the next pivot was the capacity issue. So when you could come back out, you no longer could come back out at 100%. So now retailers could only limit to first, maybe 24%, 30% at different levels for different uses. And so now you have people coming and now they have to wait in line to go into a store where they never had to do that before either. That's not fun. Nobody likes to wait. Nobody has any patience, me included. You want to get what you want, get in and get out. So, and then we have to kind of think in that almost that Disney mindset. How do you entertain people while they're waiting in line so they stay? So we had ways where we could do that. And maybe we did that with atmosphere, with music. From time to time, we had a strolling entertainer kind of come out. So, different places have different ways of doing that, but that was, definitely a challenge. And then part of the whole experiential movement was events. Across county, we're known for having our robust event schedule and calendar, trying to always activate year round. So that had to change to, our annual fireworks show of 15,000 people to virtual events or smaller ticketed private events. So again, we still want to embrace the community. We still want to be the place where people go, but you have to do that in a different format. So, the next pivot, we kind of recognize now that we're nearing post-pandemic, we hope, I feel very optimistic and positive saying post-pandemic. If you're a Westchester resident and even a Bronx resident, you're familiar with Cross County. Cross County Center has got a rich history. We've been around for, I think we're 67 years this past April. So, you've been here, it's familiar. Luckily, we've always lately had, wonderful standing in the community, but now we have this influx of new residents. We hear about the great move out of New York City and out of the boroughs up to Westchester. So now we have to pivot again and think about how we brand and how we message so people know what Cross County is. And so we have to focus on our key features of being an outdoor shopping destination, all of the mixed use elements that we have, like the hotel, like the grocery store, like the banks, like the college campus, and kind of reintroduce ourselves or introduce ourselves for the first time to this new market.
Well, and you've done it so well. We've watched all the pivots, and when I drive by, which I do often, your parking lot, or when I stop by, your parking lot seem filled. It's amazing. So along those lines, the questions on everyone's mind, even before the pandemic, Liz, was what is the future of brick and mortar retail?
Well, I checked my crystal ball. It's a $1 million question everybody asks me all the time. I feel very optimistic about the future of brick and mortar. First I'll speak about Cross County individually. We're in a good situation where we have an incredible location. It's very convenient to be here. It's very easy to get in and out of Cross County. A lot of mixed use elements where you can kind of live your life here if you need to. There's a bank, there's a grocery store, there's a gym, there's a hotel, there's amenities, there's shopping, there's food. So, you can spend a lot of time here. And I think that we've always been ahead of the game in that way. So I feel very positive about where we are. We also have Target opening next year, which is one of the top retailers in the nation, and it's the first in Yonkers. So I think that'll make a great addition to our center. And in general terms, I look at the future of brick and mortar very methodically. And the first thing I always do is, kind of evaluate customer segments. You have to, you always say you can't be everything to everybody, but you can. You just have to do it in the right way. So, Generation Z, our youngest, newest generation of target market, they're very digitally savvy. That doesn't mean that brick and mortar goes away, because the experience is still important to touch, feel, and what you can't get on a digital experience for retail is the community interaction, is the engagement, is the socialization. And that's also very important to that generation. So retailers just have to learn how to manage the omni-channel presence. And then if you look at other generations, Gen X, my generation, you're very concerned about brands that you trust, so you kind of always go back to that loyal brand. Baby boomers are very concerned with value. But it's not just age segments. We also have to look at the Hispanic population and the Asian population. Those are the two largest growing demographics in the nation. And things like cultural diversity and inclusivity is very important to those groups. So you have to know how to market to the right segment to make sure you're engaging and delivering what they want. And I think that's the future of brick and mortar, is you have to deliver what they want, and that's how you get them to come in.
So what you just said, Liz, were really words of wisdom to really understand your customers, to be able to market to new customers, to be sensitive culturally and diversity, and very, very important. And that's why Cross County has survived and thrived in the 67 years and continues to change. And the Target opening is very, very exciting.
Yeah,
so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Turning now, Glenn Vogt from River Market and Crabtree Skittle House, also turning to the restaurant sector. Boy, have we all felt for the restaurant sector. We know that restaurants were devastated by the COVID impact economically here in Westchester and certainly regionally. Now that we are reemerging from this ban, what would you say is the greatest challenge facing the restaurant industry in the year ahead, Glenn?
Well, first, thank you very much, Marcia, for inviting me to be on the panel. It's a pleasure to be with everyone. It's hard to predict the future. That's one thing we've learned here with this pandemic, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of other restaurants that we didn't see this coming, and there was a lot of adapting on the fly. Going forward, though, I think some of the things that we were able to do as an industry will remain, particularly to go and delivery of food. That's a whole new point of sale for us. We used to do a little bit here and there. At River Market, we have a pizza oven, so it's not uncommon for people to come in and have a pizza, but now and take it to go. But now we really we are sending a lot of our food out, mostly for pickup. We do deliver locally, but it's mostly for people who are coming by and taking the dinner home. And that's sort of a newfound market for us, and I think that will stay. We were very fortunate at both River Market and the Kittle House to have a lot of outdoor seating. And that was really important. We always appreciated having it, but never really thought that we would need it to survive. And it was a godsend for us in both restaurants. And it was interesting because a lot of people just didn't want to eat inside. They didn't feel comfortable yet. It was sort of pre-vaccine, and they sat outside, incredibly, in very, very cold weather with hats and gloves and scarves, and it was pretty interesting to see. We still hear people say that they're not comfortable eating inside yet, and which is fine for us because we do have this big outside area to offer. I feel a little bit I feel bad for a lot of the restaurants that didn't have that ability to seat outside and to to be able to satisfy that sector of the marketplace that didn't want to go inside yet. We were also very fortunate in both restaurants. We're large, and so people did feel sort of comfortable sitting in the dining room to some degree, even though we were spaced safely, and so we've been very fortunate that the restaurant has this generosity of space, and so we were able to really continue our business as almost as usual. I would say that the future is really sort of to be seen, because I don't know how many wipes we use a week, but I can tell you we're held to a very high standard of cleanliness. And we have the Board of Health walking through the restaurants at least 2 times a year, sometimes more. One thing about the restaurant business is we were already adhering to a lot of the guidelines that were being issued to us. It was really second nature. It wasn't difficult to do at all. And so I would say that that's another thing that won't change going forward. Restaurant business was always, about cleanliness and doing healthy, keeping it healthy, and keeping it safe for your diners. And I think that going forward, that will still remain even more than it ever was. So, a couple of things.
So Glenn, you had a very close connection to Windows on the World and the devastation of 9/11. Do you think the pandemic will create lasting changes now in the restaurant industry, as frankly our world's changed post 9/11?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's going to have a very lasting effect. Now, I was the general manager at Windows on the World during 9/11, and I stayed with the company for a year after. It's hard to compare the two circumstances, because the Trade Center was a very sort of very specific situation to New York City. I know that in Washington and in Pennsylvania, there were also, these attacks, terrible, tragic attacks. But it was about a month after 9/11 that we really all got together as a restaurant industry in the city and said, we really got to get going again. We got to get things open. And on October 11th of 2001, we had a national dine out, which was for a charity that we had created called Windows of Hope. And it really became a sort of like a signal to everybody to, it's okay to get back to normal. It's okay to go out to dinner. It's okay to support your local restaurants and your local businesses. It was really like a restart for us. Mm-hmm. This pandemic is so different. It's who really knows what's next? I'm trying to be very optimistic, in the dining room and talking to people, and it looks like we're coming through this thing, and then somebody will say, well, what about the variant? And I'm like, what about the variant? Like, who knows really what's coming next? One thing we are in this business is we tend to adapt very well to whatever the circumstances are that are challenging us. And I feel very, very strongly that Westchester will come back. I think Westchester will be back before the city even. So many people are working from home now, and they live in Westchester. And so we're seeing them on a more regular basis, where perhaps they were working in the city and they would go out to lunch for business or out to dinner for business. And now they're home, and so they're local and they're close by. And so we're and I think all the restaurants that have survived so far and are in Westchester are very, very grateful for that. But I do see as office buildings open again, and as some of the hotels pick up, and we had a very close relationship with Regeneron right up the street from us in River Market. and we haven't seen them in about, well, probably a little over a year. So we're really looking forward for them to come back to the office and start.
And they have expansion plans. And look, you're also right by the train station. So when people begin to commute again, that will help also. And it will help regionally.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So some people are saying, Glenn, and I'll just ask you this really quickly, because I think you basically touched on it. Some people actually are predicting a roaring 20s return to drinking and dining for restaurants in a positive way. What's your gut reaction on that? Should we get at our flapper dresses here?
My gut reaction is I hope we learn from our past mistakes, because the last roaring 20s led into a very big depression. And so we should kind of go cautiously maybe into the 20s, and let's learn from everything that we've experienced over this past 15 months or so. And I say yes, let's roar back into the 20s, but maybe a little more cautiously than in the past.
Well, thank you so much, Glenn. And if you haven't eaten at River Market, I can attest to their food. My favorite dish is your wonderful mozzarella salad. I love it. But the ambiance of being at River Market, and of course at Crabtree's, that we all know so well, is fantastic. I'm so glad we can all go back, and I will be there very soon. So Glenn, thank you.
Thank you.
Eddie Monroy. And by the way, we're going to come back to all of our speakers with a final question. But Eddie, I want to turn to you because you represent a very different sector, being the president of the Westchester Hispanic Chamber. We talked about big retail, but you really represent a lot of small businesses on Westchester's main streets. What is the future like for those small businesses? And I think probably the restaurant sector is a very big part of that as well. What is their future in the year ahead?
Thank you for the question, Marcia, and thank you for the BCW for sponsoring this event, and all the panelists. This is a conversation that needs to have, and I hope this is a conversation that we continue to have even after this event. I think we've seen a lot of change and a lot of pivot. I think the main theme here of this conversation, at least in this webinar, is about innovation and looking about the future, and thinking forward. Just to give some perspective in terms of some of the aspects that I'm going to touch on, when we look at Main Street, there's no doubt about it that it's been punched in the gut. When we look at different segments, as Liz was mentioning, specifically in Hispanic population, when it came to COVID, Hispanics were 20 times more likely than others to come down with COVID. 1 in 5 Hispanics have been unemployed during this pandemic, and then 1 in 4 Hispanic businesses have been on the brink of closure. So let's just think about that for perspective for a second. Prior to COVID, 1 in 3 Latina businesses or Latina entrepreneurs were starting new businesses. And then there is also a report by the Hispanic Star that said that 8 in 10 new businesses pre-pandemic were led by MWBEs. So what does the future look like? To me, I look at this question as truly diverse and truly an economy that's inclusive. So as we look at different communities, for perspective, we have seen that there's a new shared relationship between not just local, but also tourism with small towns and small communities due to the open spaces. It's all about location, and people want to get out. People want to walk around. We've been mentioning a lot of folks are going to be working from home. I truly believe that not just Westchester, but the Hudson Valley is going to come back thriving faster than New York City. And that's because of our culture. That's because of who we are as a people, who we are as a community, having these conversations because of organizations like the BCW, bringing leaders together. And then having those conversations with not just our employees, but also our partners. So to me, the future's bright. We're going to see foot traffic, especially right now in this quarter and going into the summer, spike up due to the nice weather, vaccine access, and people having that urge to get together. We're going to see a future of Main Street retail that is going to take advantage of technology. Unfortunately, big retail has been first to access technology and has essentially reduced that learning curve. But unfortunately, Main Street has just been trying to survive and really have struggled trying to access technology, trying to navigate technology. When you're a solopreneur, there's only so many hats you can wear. You can do so much sales, you can do so much marketing, and then when you throw on new technology like Zoom, the big craze of 2020, TikTok, there's only so much that you can absorb and try to have forward progress on. So the future of Main Street to me is bright. They're going to be utilizing digital tools like never before. They're going to have new access to point of sales, as Glenn was mentioning and talking about. We have seen so many Main Street businesses that never had a relationship with technology or never had a relationship with financial institutions. And so what we're going to see are more Main Street businesses emerging and getting closer in terms of this new economy, in which they've been forgotten about for a very long time, but now they're going to have the resources available and the partnerships available to make them thrive.
So Eddie, I see from everyone's faces here and by some of the texts that I'm getting as I'm looking down, and some of the comments, you've really pulled on a lot of heartstrings here, in a very positive way. And that's why you're a good leader. So I'm going to challenge the others on this panel and those who are listening and us at the Business Council Westchester and our sponsors, that perhaps it's it can be part of our responsibility going forward. Taryn and Liz, I'm looking at you, you have, international experience with technology, and how can major organizations like your companies really help the small Main Street, many minority businesses adjust and thrive with this new technology? I don't have the answer, but I think it's something that we can all take responsibility to move forward with. And I know in terms of financial relationships, I know PCSB Bank has been very, very strong in working with Main Street communities and working with small businesses. And there's a real commitment there. People are texting me as I go. So this has really, really struck a chord here. So thank you. So thank you so much. I think you've answered this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Has the pandemic created stronger communities which have pulled together in creative ways? And will this continue into the future? And Eddie, maybe I'll just add to that, as chair and president of the Westchester Hispanic Chamber, are there any communities in particular? Now, Portchester is strong, in Ossining and Tarrytown. There are many, Mount Kisco, many strong pockets of Hispanic businesses in Westchester that we all enjoy very much. So maybe you could just highlight in 2 or 3 minutes of some of those partnerships.
Absolutely. When we talk about communities like Peekskill, Mount Kisco, Portchester, Yonkers, as a whole, they're growing. And it's being driven by diversity. We look at our new communities around us, and what's going to emerge, the new wave of this roaring 20 economy is going to be diverse. It's going to be inclusive. In terms of partnerships, I think there's been no doubt about it. Partnerships across the board, from chambers of commerce, business organizations such as ourselves and the BCW, even down to Main Street. They've been pulling together and figuring out ways on how to just drive traffic, how to drive sales. I've seen a number of creative initiatives in partnerships with complementary businesses doing flash sales on weekends, in which they're having a 3-hour flash sale. Come on down right now And when you purchase something, please go down the street and purchase a muffin or a coffee. The future is going to be about hybrid events and doing hybrid marketing partnerships. And again, that's complementary. Business X will be working with Business Y and essentially doing cross promotion. I think we're going to see that more than ever. What we're also going to see is we're going to see more of a unified reach out when it comes to advisors. As I mentioned, small businesses on average probably have a handful of employees. And so there's going to be a greater outreach in terms of the business community, as you just spoke about, between financial institutions and larger corporate leaders on how to partner up together, because they need the help, and they desperately need the knowledge. At the end of the day, Main Street needs that education in order to uplift themselves, and they will, because we're a strong community.
Very, very, very inspiring. Sean, I know you wanted to add something as well, and then I think this is really spurring our final question, which I'm going to ask you all to comment on, which is, what is the biggest opportunity for growth for your industry in the year ahead? So Sean, why don't you comment and then maybe respond to that?
Sure. So when you talk about partnerships in Westchester County, I think it's important to point out that the Westchester County Executive Office, County Executive Latimer, Bridget Gibbons, have been great through this entire pandemic. Eddie sits on the task force with me. And, we've created, with the help of Natasha Caputo and the Director of Tourism and Travel Office, Westchester with Care Pledge, where all of the, majority of the businesses, restaurants, hospitality, hotels have all partnered together to pledge what we're doing, sanitizing on a regular basis, using PPE. We've all pledged to, keep our employees safe, and also the people that visit our businesses as well. So if you have an opportunity to check out the Westchester with Care website through the county government website, please do that. Also, I think we might have misspoken earlier. The Castle Hotel and Spa is suspended until September, so they are planning to.
Thank you for that correction. As I was saying it, I wondered, so appreciate that. So biggest opportunity for growth, Sean, for the hotel segment?
Sure. So the opportunity for growth for us is to, we're getting by right now. Things are getting better, but just because things are getting better doesn't mean they're great yet. We're really waiting for the big companies to come back, IBM, MasterCard, Pepsi, Heineken, as they start resuming travel back to our area. That's the biggest opportunity for the hospitality sector.
Great, wonderful, wonderful. Taryn, biggest opportunity for entertainment and for Park City, we know what that is.
Can I circle back and touch upon
Absolutely,
the partnership
please.
for a moment?
Yes, please.
So first of all, I think I think it's a critical component, and I think it's a responsibility that all companies have, large and small. But I wanted to just highlight that for MGM Resorts, which I think we are, as a Westchester resident, I am so grateful that we have this company in New York now. But those types of programs are a critical component of MGM Resorts, and they have departments dedicated to MWBE, both on procurement, services, products, and construction. And to your point, where there's an expertise in a larger company, it does need to be shared. And there is an incredible mentor program that helps so many smaller businesses, whether it's securing capital or pairing them for the course of a year with an expert at MGM to help them build their business and develop it, et cetera. So I think it's a critical component. I think you're right to talk about it. And I think there's really a need for more focus on that moving forward to help those small businesses grow, because we know that they employ so many people. In terms of community, I think that we've always been very, very committed to the community. I work very closely with Yonkers, Bronx, and Mount Vernon. We have seen a greater desire from our employees, though we have not been able to bring everyone back yet, but they are very interested in doing some volunteerism. So we created this Birthday Wishes monthly event that happens where our employees write birthday cards to homebound seniors in Yonkers. We were just in the Bronx painting over some graffiti in partnership with the Bronx Chamber and the White Plains Road Bid. We did some park cleanup. So we are seeing a greater sense of community from our employees, in addition to all the corporate social responsibility we've already done. I think, for us, the future is bright, and the opportunity really is to develop the 98-acre property that we have to offer the region more. And whether that's, the Top Golfs of the world or whatever it may be, but to continue to add to all the great things that Cross County offers, that Sean and his team offer, and just complement everything like that. And so we work closely with, even with the county executive, as he's looking at the county center, what does the county need? And so we're really interested and have been taking significant feedback to determine what those needs are, and whether that is an entertainment venue or sporting venue or more meeting and entertainment or meeting and convention space, whatever that might be. We know that there's a really great opportunity for us to fill those gaps that exist in the county. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Taryn. Very, very, very insightful and very, very exciting. Liz Pollock, future for your industry.
Well, it's time to throw away the sweatpants and get back into real clothes.
I'm sorry, I missed that. It's time to throw away.
Time to throw away the sweatpants and get back into real clothes.
I actually have a dress on today.
Very good. Very good. So I think, just like everybody else, that we're very optimistic with Target opening next year. That's a really big deal for our community. They'll employ a lot of people. Target's very community oriented. And, it's an essential retailer that people really enjoy going to and like. So I think that'll be a game changer for us. And we're going to continue to explore other options that our customers need and want, maybe medical, maybe office, maybe residential. So we're really looking to continue to expand our mixed use elements and focus on what our customers need, while also just, embracing and encouraging our current retailers. And, just hoping to provide everything that our customers want, whether it's retail, whether it's experience, engagement. But we've been a part of the community for a long time, and we plan to stay.
Wonderful. And Glenn, future for the restaurant industry. You need to unmute. Famous words. Famous words. Unmute, and also take your landline phone off the hook when you're moderating a webinar. That's for me.
Well, I just want you to know this was my first Zoom meeting. So I feel like I've really taken a big step technologically.
Wow.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm proud to be a part of it and stepping into the 21st century here. So I think there is a lot of opportunity, or there will be a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of empty restaurant spaces right now. And I think what we might see, because I've seen some of it already happening in New York, in the city, is more of a partnership between a landlord and a tenant than it is just the traditional landlord relationship. I think you're going to see rent adjustments. I think we'll see, which will make it a much more affordable opportunity anyway for a restaurant to not only come in and operate well, but to make money, which a lot of people, that's like the reason why we do it. But I do see this sort of landlord and tenant relationship changing, where they both share the burden and also share in the success of the business. I'm hopeful.
Well, from the comments here, by the way, just some things I want to point out in the chat room. You do have a link to the Westchester Cares program, Westchester with Care. You also have a link to Feeding Westchester, very important, to the BCW Empire City Casino Alliance website, BCW, and all of our partners. Somebody wanted to know about the date for the restaurant job fair. I know Tom Kleiner from the WIB, which I'm fortunate to serve on the executive committee, has offered to help with. So Sean, when that happens, please let us know and we will get the word out, and we will work with you on that as well. So lots of good comments. I know for a fact that all of our speakers are very open to hearing from you. We've all learned from you. This has been so insightful. We thank you so much. We saved this one for the final one because we hoped that we would be in a position today to really be future focused and post-pandemic. We didn't know when we planned this series back in December and January what the story would really be. But we are here and we are starting again. At the Business Council of Westchester, we're very optimistic and we're really looking forward to seeing you all, to being with you all. We thank you for hanging in there and for caring about each other, for caring about the community. Want to thank our sponsors, PCSB Bank, King's Capital Construction, and Robert Martin Company. You're absolutely terrific community members. We thank you all, and we wish everybody, I used to end each one of these with wear your mask, but I think outside anyway, we could stop wearing our masks. So when you're inside, wear your mask, please. And let's all stay healthy and let's all keep our economy moving forward. Have a great day.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Marsha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.